Hey, are you ready to meet a candidate? Yeah, you are. What is Meet a Candidate is the question that was just on the screen. Well, I'm gonna answer that. It's a 30-minute interview show where I try to help you get to know a candidate. Now, I'm not a journalist. I don't know anything about politics or policy or most other P words for that matter. And most of us don't, honestly. So let me, Paxton, be your proxy, maybe the lens by which you see these candidates so you can make an informed decision. So I'm gonna ask everyone the same basic questions, and with that, I would like to welcome today's guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Ploughe, City Council candidate for Tybee Island, Georgia. Thanks for coming out today.
All right, thank you for having me.
Just to open, so I know you kind of well. We've known each other for a while, and you're a cool dude. What would make you run for such a thankless, frustrating position like this?
So I've been to the last 38 of 40 city council meetings. I've been involved paying attention. I'm getting closer to retirement, so I'm looking for a way for me to participate more in the community. And I just believe I can help us move in a better direction for the city.
So as you've attended those meetings, there's been particular things that have struck you as something that you want to put your hat in the ring to maybe make a difference about?
So one of the biggest things that's caught my attention that I want to work on is I want us to be more strategic. It seems like we're so reactionary to many of the things that happen on this island. I want us to plan. I'm an engineer. I want procedures and policies, things to work to. I want us to get in front of events. If we got a planned or unplanned events, it doesn't matter. 6 weeks in front of that time, we should be planning how many people are coming to our island, what type of staffing we need for that, fire, EMS.
Not why are they coming, or why should they be here, or they shouldn't be allowed to be, or whatever.
Well, a big part of it is
Let's
supporting
plan.
our community and safety and personnel. I want to have an operations manual. I don't want us to each time redesign this thing and decide, oh, we've got to do something this week. Let's have it written down as procedures and a plan that we can work to.
Not seat of the pants.
No one's questioning whether it's a racial event or not.
Sure.
We just staff to those needs. That can be in an operations manual. I looked all over our internet on our webpage, and I'm finding manuals in there, but I'm not seeing one that shows us how we do our daily operations. And I think we can do a better job of getting in front of that, strategically plan our activities versus reacting all the time.
Having at least a basic template for each possible scenario that comes up, whether it be big events or how you approach anything that affects the city.
We're in this hurricane season now, and I keep thinking, what do we do if we can't? We all went through this inspection of the bridges, and that was painful. That's not even compared to building of the bridges and widening of the road on how it's going to impact us. What if we had a hurricane that took out one of those bridges for weeks? What's our plan? And I've asked some of the city this, and they've had discussions, but we don't seem like we've got a strong plan yet.
There's nothing to point to be like, well, Article 36, page 44.
I don't even need that much, but I want to say, here's our plan. We're going to transport people on the water first, or we're going to build some temporary bridge, but something to get us going for the first couple days and weeks. What is that looking like? Who's doing it? I want us to plan and get in front of those type of activities.
Well, there is freedom in planning and having some sort of strategy, because it takes away some of the wonder or I don't know what to do right now. Actually, well,
we're not only going to plan it, we're going to tell the city this is our plan. We're going to share that information as much as we can. I've been looking on the internet there's a state plan for rebuilding the road, and that plan that everyone's advertising has like 6 options on it right now. I was like, all right, which one are we doing? And no one can really tell me, no, we're doing this plan. And maybe we haven't decided yet. Maybe it gets decided when that whole thing gets out for bid. I don't know, but it feels like we're a year or two from that. It seems like we can share that information a little more.
It seems like this close to it, there should be something to look to. Right. I would say, hey, this is step 1 at least.
And maybe someone knows that. But I want to get some more of that information out to the community, and so we can all be involved instead of we're sitting back trying to understand, all right, what's happening. And it may all be involved in the background, but we can do a little more communication of it. Sure.
And so up until now, you mentioned you were an engineer. So what are the things you've done for a living up until now?
My whole career has been engineering. I went to school at Purdue University as an electrical engineer. Went out to Boeing. I've worked for about 8 aerospace companies on about 8 states and 3 continents. I'm a contractor, so I did move around a lot, working for different companies to help certify aircraft. That's been a big part of what I do. I was involved in college in a community service organization called Alpha Phi Omega. It's not known that well, but a lot of colleges, we're on about 400 campuses across the country. I was on their board of directors for a community service in the western 10 states at that time to help its young college men and women to provide leadership and community service. So that gives me a little more social experience, background, compassion for other people.
Yeah, because coming from an engineering background, of course, you're going to view things in the spectrum of, hey, I'd like to have some solid plans, I'd like to have some structure. But then there's the guys who are only structure based,
Right.
and they don't have the social.
It's a common joke and expectations that engineers have no social skills, right? And I'm working on a little bit of that. I understand it. That's the first thing,
Sure.
right? You understand that you've got to work on those social skills. So, yeah, we're definitely more procedure process oriented.
Do you feel like you would use a lot of that sort of background as a baseline?
That's how I think.
That's just what it is.
process. We're going to outline what we're going to understand what our needs are, and we're going to get community input. So I've been in the last few weeks, I'm trying to get that community input. I want to be informed from the community. I've knocked on 200 doors so far, and I've talked to about 2/3 of those people, and I'm getting a lot of different opinions and understanding of the community, and there's a lot of really intelligent, capable people on this island, and we're kind of diverse on a lot of our interests.
Sure.
We're pretty 50-50 on some topics.
Sure.
And aggressive on each of those directions. So I want us to be more. I want to bring us together. I want to be that balance. I want to be that cooperation. We're just, this island is a great island. The times when I see visitors come to this island, and they're so impressed when they see our community. People, how they spend time together, how they hug each other when they see someone coming in the
diverse
restaurant.
group of people that sit next to each other.
Right. They are so impressed to see this community,
Sure.
and we have a great community, and I'd like to continue that. I think I can provide that leadership that can give that example, provide that tone and direction as well, that can bring us together. I'm looking for balance, and I know some people don't like the word balance, but that's what it is and what we need. We're going to need to meet in the middle.
People push back against balance because they think that means conceding something that they don't want. They don't understand that there is something that everyone can agree on as long as it's for the greater good. And so you found that speaking to citizens, there's not much pushback on the concept of let's be thoughtful, let's get the community's opinion, but then push it through the prism of your engineering, mind. How much pushback do you think you will get from if you're elected from other council people, in those terms? Will it be harder to convince them that, hey, let's think about this, logically or from this, planning standpoint instead of reactionary?
I think everybody running for city council and city government wants the best for the island, and everybody believes different things at times, but I do believe everyone would work together to do what they think is best. A lot of times I'm seeing at city council, I'd like to see more. It doesn't seem like a lot of the topics come very mature to the city council meetings. And I want us to, let's work on this together. And I realize there's a limit. You can't have 3 city council members together in any one spot because they consider that a meeting. So, but we've got to develop these proposals with a little more information and not make it a brainstorming session at city council. It should be more like a board meeting. The hard work should be done. The development of those procedures, processes.
Yeah, it's not the Beatles. You're not going to write the song in the studio.
Yeah.
You gotta write the song before you bring it to the studio.
I think the city council would work well together, and I'd expect that. And with the leadership, they would. I mean, everyone, like I said, everyone wants the best for the community. We're coming from different viewpoints, and we're like short-term rentals. We're very divided on this island. It's still a major topic.
Sure.
I was kind of hoping we were past a lot of that, and we could work within the limits that they passed the last couple of years. I commented the other day on a letter that in the 90s, they passed the 35-foot ceiling limit for the housing building. And I compare what we've done or what the city council's done the last couple of years of setting a cap and a limit in the residential areas of short-term rentals. The 35-foot kept us as a residential living community. We're not Daytona Beach. We're not sky rises everywhere,
not
traffic getting on, nowhere to live. So the 90s effort helped keep us a residential community. And I think what the last couple of years have done has helped keep us again towards that residential community versus being overtaken by short-term rentals. Now, I have short-term rentals. I have 3 short-term rentals. I live in one of them 9 months of the year. So I understand that side of it too. I don't want to take away anybody's short-term rentals, but I also agree half the island and residential areas is enough of short-term rentals. Um, and I have 2 other lots that I was considering that I could build on, but I can't, and I'm okay with that. I live next to my other rentals. All 3 of the rentals, including the one I live in, are next to each other. No one comes into my rental without me meeting them. I've either myself or a guest services agent for the last 5 years have met my guests. And I think if you share the expectations and let them know, hey, this community, there's residents living next door, when 10 o'clock's quiet time, people will work with you. I think this is a good island, and it's impressive, and I think the visitors, that's why they're coming here. They're seeing that community.
Well, I think there was a turn where, so if you own a piece of property down here, instead of renting long term, it would behoove you fiscally to do short terms. And I don't begrudge anyone for having short terms, because earn a living, make money. That's fine. But the thing is, so it just, especially in this little neighborhood right here, I've seen houses, they'll short term for 9 months out of the year, and each cycle they'll try and resell. But I think inherently your property value kind of skews to more valuable if you say you can use it for a short term.
Certainly.
And then as the property value goes up, less and less, these places don't get sold every year, even though they try and sell them, because I think the property value is a little bubbled out versus what it actually is because of the specter of short-term rentals.
Short-term rentals have driven the prices up, no question about it. And if you got a house with a short-term rental and one without it right next to it, one without is not worth the same amount, because they don't have the same potential of income.
Yeah.
Now, COVID was a huge boon to Tybee as far as visitors that came here. The following 2 years after COVID, our numbers have come down, both in the volume of tourism for the short-term rental housing. At least that's what I'm seeing, and I think I believe there's numbers to support that. Volume's coming down, the prices are coming down too. So it is becoming less income capable for some of these short-term rental properties because the prices come down. There's the volume of short-term rentals here has gotten over capacity. I don't know if people spend all their COVID money, or they're traveling internationally,
Sure.
or they came to Tybee and they're trying other islands. Yeah. Don't know quite all those reasons yet, but it does seem like it's lowering a little bit. Now, whether that's going to make it not as profitable for someone with a short-term rental, maybe they think, all right, maybe it's time to go back to a long-term rental, because there's a lot of effort and time and money. Someone has a problem with a sink at 10 o'clock at night. A long-term rental, you might say, hey, can I get to that in the morning? A short-term rental, you're there at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. You're fixing those
things. You're there at 10:01, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one side effect that most people might not necessarily realize is, so we think of Tybee as, this very insular, homegrown community that, looks out for each other, takes care of each other. And a lot of that is because the staffing down here for bars and restaurants, say 5 years ago, most people that I worked with or that I knew that worked around Tybee could live on Tybee. Yeah. And that's changed a bit. So I'm lucky here.
Changed a lot.
Right. So in terms of not becoming high rise, okay, yeah, we're no high rises. We're not a million condos at every square foot of the beach, right? But we're losing, I think, just my opinion, we're losing a bit of the community sense of if you work down here and you can't live down here, you're not the community anymore.
Right. So I saw that too. I think in the last 10 years, they've built about 400 houses in the island, but a lot of the houses have been getting sold that were the workforce housing. And those have been bought, and people are putting $200,000-$300,000 in repair and remodel of those, and they're turning them into short-term rentals, and that pushes the prices up and availability as well. It is a challenge. How do we look after people who work on the island?
But I'm against regulation in terms of like, oh, you're not allowed to make money.
Right. So I think
that's a fine line.
I would rather stay out of the requirements and the stipulations. Let's start looking positively. How can we encourage things that we want? How can we encourage long-term rentals? There was a gentleman that proposed a planning commission last week, or maybe it was the week before, that he wanted to subdivide a lot and put a housing in there, asking, what are you going to do with it? And he says, I want to provide long-term rental housing. And he has 12 other properties on the island. We can start spending time promoting and encouraging and giving appreciation to things that we want done with the island. Let's recognize them. Let them march in the parade as a long-term rental on the island.
and the social equity that comes from that
Sure.
for a person like that,
Right.
that kind of pays dividends in terms of, because we are a small community, people like to be liked.
We can promote things that we want in a positive manner.
Instead of saying F you for being, for having short terms.
One of the women I spoke to last week was saying, you know, those signs as you come on Highway 80 towards Tybee? She says, why are those always negative? Don't do this, don't do this. Why can't those be positive signs?
Thank you for throwing your trash away.
Right. There's a lot of things that we can just change just a little bit about how we perceive it and how we promote it that can be a advantage to us.
Well, here's what I think a huge part of that is. So social media is it's unfortunately it's sort of a necessary evil, especially when you're, trying to promote, yourself as a, council person, whatever. And the worst part of social media is political social media, because everyone takes their teamsmanship idea, even though we're not against each other, but somehow we make ourselves against each other. If you don't agree with this thing that I agree with, then you disagree with everything else that I agree with. And it's an automatic partition. That's on social media, right? People are arguing. They'll say anything, nothing. There's no nuance, right? They don't take that to the streets.
Right.
When they meet someone,
face to face, you're much
they don't
cordial.
take it there. Now they still hold that belief inside of them, but they're not going to have that same interaction with you.
There's a radio station, I don't know, a couple months ago I heard that says, how do we get your children ready for social media is put their artwork on the fridge and critique it for them. You're preparing your children.
Write 10 notes beneath it. Oh, that's terrible. That's garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, the lines could have been better.
Right.
So are you on social media?
I am on social media, and I'm trying to get on it more. It's not something I say happy birthday to friends that are on there.
Oh, no, I just meant, are you participating in social media?
I am, and I need to do more of it, because that's how you can gain information. It's an outlet for people to share their information. I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. Okay. And you can take it for what it is.
Okay, but well, the reason I ask is because political social media is the Nickelback of social media. Nothing good ever comes from it, because interacting with people in comments. Now, in my business, podcasting and stuff like that, I paid zero attention to anyone's opinion about what I'm doing, because the moment I engage them, that validates that whatever their opinion is, that they think I give a shit about it, right?
Sure.
Now, in terms of speaking to the public, that might be one of your only platforms, social media, to get the idea across. But interacting and trying to iron out a problem through that medium is nearly impossible.
I'm not trying to resolve situations on social media,
okay, yeah.
But it is a very good position to hear people's interests and concerns. I mean, that's immediate feedback. You know the concerns of the community, you're seeing them. It's certainly a value there for that.
But the way it's framed a lot of times is either vitriolic or reactionary, sure. And it's a tough thing to process and be like, oh, there might be a valuable point in here, but there's no reason I can't address it, because all it's going to do is stir the hornet's nest,
right?
And nothing gets accomplished. And so people only believe that they can interact with you through that medium because it's instant,
right?
It's right there. And I just want to know, I'm just wondering what your idea for, hey man, let's not iron it out here. Let's have a platform where we can actually speak. That's not a council meeting.
Right.
And that's not,
So there's open forums, there's discussions. There are opportunities for the community to speak on new topics and issues that the city has. At times they have. They oftentimes have. They were doing Zooms. They're doing public meetings and for informational gathering. That's one thing that I kind of asked our city a little bit about. Is like, what? Like, people want dogs on the beach and some people don't want dogs on the beach. I like, if we decide to have a trial for that, how do we measure the community interest for that before we do it? And then how do we measure it afterward? What are we doing to measure whether it's a successful trial or not? And those are things that I'm still trying to, like, all right, how is it that we can simply measure?
I don't remember that ever being done, where they're taking a litmus of, or a consensus of the community before they bring the half-baked idea to the actual council, like you were mentioning earlier, the very nascent ideas that you're trying to brainstorm at the meeting.
Just recently, I think I don't know whether the YMCA came up or the city approached the YMCA, but they did just recently put out a questionnaire for community, family, child care needs. They're trying to understand those needs and if they can help support that. And I don't know if that came through the city or it was a collaborative effort, but they are doing a questionnaire on that right now. So there are some ways that are coming through at the moment a little bit. We can do more of that. What is the platform?
What is the platform?
And how do we do it to get? Now we're interested in getting community feedback and involvement, right?
Well, you have to.
Right.
But, because ultimately you're serving the community.
Right, sure.
But at the same time, typically the loudest people in those forums,
Yep.
they're kind of the fringe ideas and
Sure. So that's why you need to make sure that you're getting a large enough input of the community for those decisions,
Sure.
and not letting a very vocal minority redirect you or make you believe something that's not really representative of the community. So Tybee, I talked to some people about this too. A lot of the movie stars used to love coming to Tybee because they could sit in the same restaurant as us at a table and everybody'd leave them alone.
No one's gonna
bother
them. Yeah.
And I think Tybee's been a lot about it. We're like, you do your own thing, I'll do my own thing, as long as you're not too abrasive on me or causing me too much problems.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And I think we've been a community like that, and so making sure that you get that input from the people that are trying to be standoffish and not trying to get that engaged or involved,
right.
They're kind of letting it roll. To get their input you're gonna have to work a little harder.
You have to work a little harder, because the inherent problem with the social media algorithm is the loudest voice, they're gonna get more engagements of people being mad at them or agreeing with them. And all those things get boosted to the top of the page.
So you got to comprehend, is that representative of the community's input?
And yeah, it may be sometimes, but typically it's not, I would say. All right, Tybee is sort of a drinking town with a fishing problem,
Right.
And a part of the charm is, like we were saying earlier, you could sit down in a bar or wherever, and there might be a doctor, there might, like all walks of life, smart, dumb, all those things. And it's appreciated down here that it's sort of a leveling, a natural leveler, that no one gives a shit who you are, what you do, as long as you can. So down here, what do you typically find yourself doing for fun outside of?
So as you say, Tybee is a very eclectic community.
Yeah.
I can wear cut off jeans and grass stained jeans and walk in a restaurant and be treated the same as if I'm wearing a button down shirt. I do appreciate that and like that. And like you say, you don't know who you could be sitting next to because of that behavior and attitude.
Yes.
And you're any of the other people. So for fun, I used to run quite a bit. If it was a 9,500-degree day, I had to run 6-10 miles.
You gave me a shirt.
Yeah.
It said Liver Strong instead of Live Strong. Oh my God, I can't believe I just remember.
It was too short for me. I think it was a midriff shirt.
It was a little cropped. Yeah. I'm modest. I didn't want to show too much midriff, but yeah.
I love to run, or used to love to run. Now my knees don't let me run as much.
Now you're just running for office, baby.
Right. If it's still a 95 degrees day, I will run for about 6 miles during the day, but I'll be hobbling around for the next couple of days afterwards. I manage my own short-term rentals properties. A lot of my fun is maintenance and repair of the houses. I'm the lawn boy. I'm the pool boy.
There's something cathartic about being outside and solving problems. Like it seems like a satisfying thing.
So and I'm out at the pubs a little bit too.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out trying to see the restaurants, and it's family and friends, like we said before. It's the community, and that's the reason why I moved here. I lived in Ploughe for 5 years in 2001 to 2006. I love Ploughe. I know about 3 or 4 neighbors. I'm here. I'm meeting people out every night. I'm enjoying it. We're friends. It's just enjoyable time.
Well, that's more valuable than the people understand, especially for our community down here, because being on the street, being on the ground, and talking to people face to face every day without the construct of you're talking to a council person or I'm trying to glean information from you. We're just chatting.
Right.
You can get so much more information, general information, by just a casual chat with people.
Certainly.
Than like, hey, what do you think about?
Right. Putting them on the spot, or I was like, yeah, right.
Which is, and the purposes of these interviews, it's, we're not, I don't care where you fall on what position where sort of thing.
Right.
Especially for something as small and local like this, it's the equity is in it being able to communicate at a base level.
I think we're all part of this community. We all want it to succeed and do well and be healthy. That's pretty much who we are as a community, and it shows. This community really shows. Like I said, I've lived as a contract engineer. I've lived on the island for 12 years, and I've lived on it I've been here 7. I've taken remote assignments for 5 of those 12 years, but I keep coming back here. This is my retirement. This is my last stop kind of thing. This is where I'm ending up because all those 8 other states and those other 2 continents I've lived in, this is the place I want to be. And this is,
Yeah,
think,
you weren't poor for choices. It's
right.
You got here and you're like, okay, this is my
this
speed.
Is,
I get these people.
Right. And it's a community. It's what I appreciate, and the reason why I moved here because of that.
And typically, most people, when they do discover this place, it's because of that community aspect, and that's something that we don't want to slip away.
Right.
In terms of keeping it as Tybee as we possibly can. So, if you were to be elected, what would be your strategy for staying awake during the soul-sucking council meetings? Now, from the engineering background,
right.
it might be the best thing for you. It's like, I love I love the water tables and the
right.
and the sediment,
it's
subterranean sediment.
And like I said, I've been to 38 of the last 40. It's about being engaged. It's understanding the topic. It's wanting to be involved in the solution and the direction and hearing the community input. I mean, I'm invested in that. I care about it. I want to be a part of it. So it's about being engaged in the activity and understanding what's there. I don't want to be just a judge on the final decision day as a city council. That job is so much more into helping understand the issues, help us with our leadership of the community. I want to be a leader of the community, not just the person making a decision on Thursday night. So there's helping and developing proposals and direction. And I'm a little more Republican than I am Democrat. I call myself a Republican. I want business to succeed. I want people that are work hard to do well, but I also want to take care of the people that need help. I don't want people to live on it.
Sure.
I don't want to help you get through tough times to survive. I don't want to provide everybody everything.
But
I'm not looking for socialism.
I think categorizing Democrat Republican is sort of like lost in such a micro thing down here. Like the label sort of means nothing, not to me at least.
Sure.
Because it's not party politics. It's social politics to me.
Sure.
So people might think that they have conservative ideas, but they're really more on the liberal. So us defining it sort of seems like is just
we're
purposeless.
More topic focused. I certainly agree with that.
And
we're not running for a platform or
you're not running for a party.
Yeah, right.
And I think if more people viewed it in those terms, maybe there'd be less pushback against compromise or just getting the idea across without necessarily having to toe a line, a made up line that you think your constituency expects you to do.
If everyone can have input and being part of the solution,
and feels that their input was,
I think we can come to a middle ground on a lot of these things. And I want to provide. You remind me of a buddy I had just after college and was working, and he'd gotten married a couple years later, and he said he'd had an argument with his girlfriend or wife at the time. I was like, "Oh yeah, what'd you do?" And he says, "We compromised. I did what she wanted to do." So compromise isn't always giving up something to someone else.
Exactly, yeah.
It really can be meeting in the middle, but we think we compromise if we gave away something. But I think it's good for our community if we do look at those type of...
And being able to, that the citizens be heard and that the person hearing them, they know is apathetic and empathetic to what they want and not just, I'm holding a hard line because my belief stands here.
Sure.
So again, if elected, what would you say your big headlines are, the main top 3 things that, if possible, to get through council, because that's a whole nother minefield in itself.
So one of the biggest things for me was the strategic planning. I want us to have a city operations manual, and this isn't necessarily going through city councils as an ordinance. I think I believe an operations manual that the city operates to can help us with our planning and get in front of events and activities. That's one of those things. Like I said, we can plan for...
Is there a template on the state level that could be transferred down to something like that, or from FEMA or something like that?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of cities that have
That's
those
what I figured you could piggyback off something else at least to get started.
Certainly. And there are procedures. There's emergency planning procedures. There's an employee manual. There is a good portion of those on our website to represent that.
Why not transfer some of those, maxims to...
Right. But it's looking at, all right, what holes do we need to fill? Right now, I know the city's working through an employee review process. So apparently, we got 40% behind on our pay scales for these employees over the last 3 to 4 years. So they're now back being, I believe, compensated what they believe they're worth. They're able to get employees in. They're able to keep employees. How do we get to that point, right? We need to understand and have a plan for evaluating ourselves to other cities. They're looking at merit raises coming up soon. I was like, all right, but we don't have a process yet of reviewing employees. So we need to have procedures on for a merit raise. This is the expectation. This is the review. We need to have a 360 review. Not only review of the employee should be able to review their manager. And that's a part of city council's job too, is to help ensure that those activities happen. The city manager is under the direction and guidance of the city council and the mayor. We have a city manager running of the city that they're in charge of the daily operations. The city council is involved in a larger scale. If you want to look at months or years out, they're on a broader scale. Should not be in the daily operations.
Right.
But we can guide and expect certain things to be done by the city. Other things I'd like to see done with the city, our infrastructure. We're about to spend a lot of money on infrastructure, and part of that is it seems like we've been ignoring some of those things too. So next year, $7 million is intended on being spent on water and sewer, and I believe this is needed. I think this, water and sewer. Spoke to the city engineer.
But you think
a lot of that was put in 60, 70 years ago.
It might be a catch up from
from
letting
not
it go
paying
too
attention
long.
to some of these things. So if we can get back to scheduled planning of activities, we're not caught all at once on some of these things. So $7 million next year is intended for water and sewer, and there's also $9 million budgeted the next 3 years after that for water and sewer infrastructure. We're going to spend over half of our general revenue fund, general fund, on that infrastructure right now. Now, some of it may come from other government agencies, but we're about to spend some pretty good funds on that. So it's getting in front of those things and understanding them, sharing them with the public so they can understand what's about to happen and why it's happening.
Roads and bridges.
So I've asked even Solomon. I was like, why aren't we paving Solomon? There's still some gravel roads on this island, and I get some of that infrastructure, water, sewer does have to happen before we go paving the road. I want to pave it, tear it up the next year to put in sewer infrastructure. So I get that. And I know that they've been spending, I think about $500,000 a year has been intended and promoted for the last few years on paving. So they've been doing a lot of paving. We do a lot of things right. The island's good. We're looking after marshes. We're looking after waterways. We're looking after our dunes.
We can just tighten up a few bolts here and there. That's it,
I'm not looking to change things dramatically.
Yeah, no.
I just, it's a good, fun island.
It feels like it feels like you're viewing it as there's some very simple things that we've ignored in terms of process, which a few simple changes could make all the difference in the world. It's just we haven't thought about those.
I am still worried about getting on and off the bridge during the construction. We went through so much pain. It seemed like to me pain with just the inspection that I was like, this construction, I can't imagine how
just the inspection. I mean, it was a bad time to do it during the spring.
I can't imagine how that's not going to be really painful right now.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming out. This has been really great, and I'm glad you're my first. If there's anything else, you got, tell the people your socials, website, anything like that.
Okay. Yep, not my social security number, but
295.
I have a Facebook page, and I just got it up running today.
Okay. And you do have a QR?
One.
You have a QR?
I have a QR code.
Well, I'll put it up on the screen right here.
And I have website tonyfortybee.com.
Tonyfortybee.com.
That's going along as well. And I've got a lot of these topics on there. I've got a lot of links. If you're not registered to vote, you've got until October 10th to register for the November 7th election. There's links, and one of them's like 411 vote. There's easy links to get there. There's links on that website for the city actually has a lot of really good links. All the budgets and proposals for the last couple of years and the next couple of years are on there. There's links to those too.
All funneled into one convenient place.
Right.
That's good.
Trying to share information.
Well, and I think that's the most important part is just having the information available, and that's doing a service to us all. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for watching. This was Meet a Candidate brought to you by From Behind the Barcast. Tony?
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.